This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Melissa Vera is the voice behind Adventures of Frugal Mom, a heartfelt lifestyle platform where motherhood, culture, and frugal living intersect. Melissa is a proud Latina mom from North Carolina who started her blog during tough financial times. It began as a personal outlet, but quickly grew into a trusted resource for women seeking budget-friendly inspiration, authentic life advice, and empowerment through simplicity. So let's discover what we can learn and incorporate into our own life. Melissa Vera, good morning, and thank you so greatly for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Kate. I'm so excited to be on.
Well, I'm equally excited, or maybe more excited. I'm not sure. We won't gauge that. We'll just say it's super exciting to connect. You know, what intrigued me was the word frugal, because I really feel that's, at least in my definition, that's something that we have either forgotten about or never known about, but really is so critical to our really having a good world, a sustainable world, a world where, everyone feels that they are recognized, that they are able to do what they want to do. So am I kind of capturing it, or you give us the definition?
To begin with, a lot of times the word frugal also comes with some negative connotations, like people think frugal meaning you're cheap, but that doesn't absolutely mean that. Frugal means is you take the resources that you have and do the best that you can with it so that you can obtain and do different things. Like, for instance, I'm a mom of three. My girls are older now, but when they were younger, I chose to stay home. And when you're a stay-home mom, you don't have the chance to go out and do things with your kids because there's only that one income. So I looked for things that were frugal, that were free, but they were also experiences that the girls and I could have together. And so it made a difference. Like, I found out that our library had reading time, story time. So we would always go to the free story time, and we'd take a picnic, go to the park. Friends would join us, and we would just have a really great time. And I learned how to stretch the dollar a little bit, but not be so cheap. And they didn't miss out on the experience that their other friends have.
Right. Well, you mentioned something like going to the library. Why would we not take advantage of that? Books galore. To buy all those books singly, and then you'd be limited to just a few potentially. Here you've got really almost like this world open at your disposal, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that the books now, they have them where you can get them on Kindle, so you can just download them on your Kindle. You don't even have to step out of your house to go get a book anymore. You can just download it through the library app and just read it. And then when you're done with it, just return it. I mean, I love that fact that they made that option available, because a lot of people don't like carrying around books, or they forget to return a book. And they're like, oh my gosh, we're paying all these fines. Whereas now you can just return it or just renew it, because you're getting a notification saying that it's ready for renewal. So,
or sometimes with the books, with the digital books, they're only a certain amount of time they'll actually just disappear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
But still, the thing is that they are available, that they're free. And I think for younger parents, having the story times where you can get to a library, if it's easy enough to drive there, within reason, or catch a bus to get there, it's a chance to really open up a whole other world, connect with other parents, the kids connect with other kids, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it also is like the kids are learning how to be social with their friends, but then too, you're getting that outlet. Like, you can complain to a mom if a mom's going through something similar. You guys can kind of have bonds and friendships. I mean, I still have friends from when my girls were going to the story time at the library, and they're still friends of mine now. I mean, their kids grew up with my kids. I mean, we're just, even though they moved away and then they would move back because we're in a military town, I mean, it just made it so much better to know that they had someone that they could connect with, and I had someone that was in the same level as I was, because I have friends of all different ages. But when you have friends that are actually meeting you right where you are at, it makes a world of difference.
Yes, For sure. And what a great kind of supportive environment. And because there are so many other resources too that are available there at the library. So that's just honing in on one aspect of how you used frugality in that way. And my goodness, it still gave this world of opportunity to your children.
Yeah, for sure. And then one of the things I did a lot of research because around that time that my girls were growing up was right when the internet really started getting really big.
Yeah.
And because it feels like it's been around forever, but it hasn't. And so I did a lot of research and found that even with like going to our zoo, that I could buy a membership to the zoo, but they had a reciprocal agreement with all these other places, and not only in North Carolina, which is where I'm at, but all over the country, that if we were traveling, we could either get discounted tickets or we could get free admission as a reciprocal agreement with the zoo. So it like paid for itself the first time we went to the zoo, because even the tickets would cost over the amount of the membership for us to even go for one day. So we paid for the whole year and we got all those other little extras with it. So, that was a no-brainer. So you do some research and you can find some really easy ways for your kids to have fun, or for you to have fun and it not be so expensive.
Yes, exactly. So when did the idea of the Frugal Mom, adventures of a Frugal Mom, really enter your consciousness?
Okay, I was an elementary school teacher, and one of my friends was also an elementary school teacher, and she started blogging, and she was like, "Oh, well, you can do this," because everything she was doing, because she was doing like a coupons and deals blog, and she's like, "You can do this because you do the exact same thing. You just need to write about it." And I was like, "Okay." So I started writing as a coupons and deal blog. I think when my girls were in elementary school, so they were younger, because my oldest is going to be 30 in September, so, and my youngest is 23. So but I started writing it, but I realized that the coupons and deals wasn't what I wanted to do. It was more about guiding people through how they can be frugal and how they can have adventures and not have to cost a fortune, because I was learning as a young mom things that my girls wanted to do that maybe their friends were doing that we couldn't afford, because like I said, I was staying at home until my youngest was in preschool. And so it was a different way for me to make extra money. So that's when I started blogging about being a frugal mom. And then in 2014, I call it a series of unfortunate events. It's basically my youngest daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy. We had a car accident. Mom got hurt, so I had to stay out of work because of the car accident. And then at the end of that year, my dad, who was my biggest hero, my biggest supporter, he was put in hospice because he was exposed to Agent Orange and the contaminated water in Camp Lejeune, because he was a Marine, and he ended up passing away. And I knew I couldn't step back into the schoolyard, into the school, because he was such a big supporter of the school. He would come in and volunteer in the class. He would volunteer for anything the school had. And so I was like, God, if this is what you want me to do, I'm going to step out on my own and just blog full time. And 2015 is when I finally took the step back and said, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it full time. And now it's just taken off. And now I'm in my blog cabin, and I had the extension of the blog cabin just last year. So now it went from an 8x10 storage shed to a huge, like, I call it a compound, because it's like I have my old one and then I have a pass through and then the new one where I'm speaking to you right now.
And what are the dimensions of the new one?
The new one is 16 by 20, but it's longer.
Mm.
It's width-wise. I mean, the other one was more this way, parallel, I guess, and the other one's more longer, so it has a side porch. So I have a front porch and a side porch.
Ooh.
So
Isn't that
yeah.
wonderful? And being, as you said, you're in North Carolina, so having those porches and, wow, just the idea of a cabin makes it feel like this really wonderful retreat.
Yeah, for sure. And that way I don't have to worry about if I'm inside, if I'm out here writing, I don't have to worry about what the house looks like, the clutter. Oh, I got to clean this, I got to clean that. No, my space is clean in here and I don't have to worry about it. And most people know, when my family knows when I'm in here, most of the time don't bother me. I have a big stop sign on my door that if like I'm recording interviews or I'm in the mood and I'm really in the groove writing, they know not to come in. They see that stop sign and they don't walk in.
Yeah. Well, it really, just in your sharing this, I think speaks volumes about what we could and maybe need to do for ourselves, of having our own space, of being away from distractions. Like, yeah, I certainly know being able to be drawn in, like, I have a project to do, but then I see, oh, but the laundry, it's waiting. So you could easily get pulled away. No, when you have your own space, this is wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. Because for the longest time, I was in the house, and I would, the girls would be calling me. That, of course, when they were younger, I had to be in the house with them because,
Sure.
you don't leave your kids unsupervised. But, it was hard for me to find time to actually sit down and write the blog. And then I would stay up late at night to write after the girls went to bed, or I would incorporate activities that we did together. Like, okay, you're going to read your book or you're going to do your schoolwork, and I'm going to work on my work. And the girls got a really fun time with that. And like, we would set timers to see who would get done faster and things like that, and just made it into a game.
What fun. You also, in terms of this workspace, of your blog cabin, really attest to your frugality as well, because you used an old storage shed you were mentioning.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't an old storage
Nope.
shed. We actually I bought it.
Oh, okay.
But the very first one that we bought, I bought it with all the earnings that I made from the blog. So it wasn't coming from the household income. It was from basically the business income. But my husband did all the sweat equity. I designed how I wanted everything to look inside. I bought the materials, but he put everything up. Now, in this current one, I'm luckily that I am a little bit better off that we hired somebody, because I wanted to get in and get it done fast, as opposed to, it took, I think I bought the blog cabin in May of 2018, and it wasn't completely finished until May the following year. Even though I could still work in there, but I wanted it, this time I wanted it done so I could actually get in, spread out, and not feel like I'm so cramped. So yeah.
And so in doing it so methodically, you already built up the finances so that you knew what you were looking at. So it just really takes some foresight and planning, and you make it happen, so you're not having to have loans and pay interest and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one thing that I will say, that my husband and I, we tend not to we don't have credit cards. We do everything through our bank. We do everything through debit cards, because we know that the credit cards, you can get into such a big trouble with the credit cards. I mean, and that's one thing that we decided, that the only thing that we had loans on were the cars, which I think we only have 2 loan payments now, and the house, and that was it. And everything else was, we're paying straight out cash, or paying through the checking account, so that we don't have to worry about floating any loans. And I think that's important for a lot of people, because we're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses that we get ourselves into such a hole that we end up losing everything, or we work to maintain the lifestyle instead of making the lifestyle and then maybe work on the side, so that we have the lifestyles for fun, but not, we don't have to work necessarily. We don't have to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week just to maintain the lifestyle or maintain the house. Or we're not house poor, I should say.
Yeah. And and you said that about keeping up with the Joneses, and it just struck me as like, well, why don't we become the Joneses? People keep up with us, and which is essentially what you're doing. You're setting this model, which I would guess has been a good model for your daughters, and now that they're young adults and having families of their own, moving toward that, that you are the Joneses, model after me, and you're doing it in such a sustainable way.
Yeah, for sure. I host a podcast called Chats from the Blog Cabin. It started out during COVID. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I used to do them on Facebook Lives, and my girls were one of my guests on the Facebook Lives. And I had people asking them questions. And one of the people asked a question of like, what did you learn from your dad and what did you learn from your mom? And they said they learned from their dad the value of money, because my husband came from a very poor rural community in Mexico. So he didn't have a lot. So to see his girls, one is a year away from getting her PhD, one graduated college and bought her house in the same month. I mean, what college graduate buys a house in the same month? And then the other one, she's so creative, and she's just such a creative person. That's the youngest. they learned how to be good with money, and they learned if they wanted something, they had to earn it. Things weren't just handed to them. And then when somebody asked the question about what did they learn from me, and they were like, they learned patience and they learned how to build something from nothing, because they remember when I first started out how I didn't have anything, and now I have these followers and this this two block cabin sale, even though it's one, but these two, and they learned that and they saw how I have grown, and I've learned stuff about myself as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that answers your question.
Oh, yes. What is so amazing, what they have learned is something that is modeled. You can't just get this out of book learning. You don't learn this at school, but to be these really strong parents, what you've given them is invaluable. It's really given them what will sustain them throughout their entire lives, just as you are growing in your life and creating this incredible space and time and influencing for anyone who wants to take part in it.
For sure. And honestly, when my oldest daughter moved right after it was her fiance then, but now it's her husband, moved from North Carolina to California, they like did the cross country trip going all the way across in the U-Haul. Mom was scared. I mean, I literally was like freaking out, like, how can you move this far away from me? But I see how she's thriving in California and how she's learning. She learns how to manage money. They know this. They know what they need to do. They know where their bills are, and they never once have come and said, hey, we don't have money to pay our bills, because they have money, because they know what expenses they need and what they need to do. I mean, and that to me means a lot, because they don't ask, like for instance, we just, as our early birthday present for my daughter, we just bought her not a new one, but a renewed iPhone, because her phone was just dying. And I'm like, I'm tired of talking to you every time and your phone dies. But I told her, I said, that's your birthday present and your Christmas present. So be happy, But, things like that as parents, we can now give back to our children, but they know the value of the dollar. Like my daughter, my oldest one, used to go over and mow her grandparents' lawn. And it got to the point where her laptop was dying and she needed a new one. And my dad understood the values we were instilling in them. And he's like, well, if you continue to mow the grass for next year, which of course, probably the laptop costs way more than that, because she was only getting $20. But he's like, I'll go ahead and pay the laptop, and I'll go ahead and get it for you. But that's because you're mowing the grass for the whole year, basically. So she learned the value that I needed a new laptop. I worked for it. My grandpa bought it, but it's from my earnings that he would have given me. So she learned that way.
Yes. Yeah, it's just so incredible to instill this in our children. And when we look at what our world is, what the circumstances we're in, and there's just so much stress and uncertainty, I would believe that you and your family are feeling calmer, that you know that you have really created a solid path, and that you don't need to be concerned that things are fluctuating around you. You know that you're solid.
Yeah, and plus too, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared though for
Mm.
the other. I'm always the type of person that I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop, because that's just how I am. That's just my being. So I try to be prepared, like for instance, buy one get one free sales when you go to the
Mm.
supermarket. And if you see stuff that's like a canned good and you buy one get one, why not buy one and get one and put that one up, or either that or donate it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another thing that I instilled in my girls, is that even though we may not be as well off as your friends, it still doesn't hurt to give back to people as well, to volunteer. And I learned that from my dad, his legacy. So I continued on with them. And, my daughters do that. I mean, one takes in so many cats. I mean, she fosters so many cats. It's not even funny. The other one, the one that's in, California right now and getting her PhD, she goes and she like goes to food pantries and stuff that she knows that she doesn't use. She goes and donates it, or she goes and volunteers, or she works and she mentors other kids. And then my youngest, she does the same exact thing. She just mentors, and It's just something that even if you're frugal, you can still go out and be part of the world. It doesn't mean that you're home and sitting at home and miserable because you don't have the money to spend. You can find other ways to enjoy life.
Yes. Well, and really thrive when you talk about your daughters and the education that they have accomplished and what they are doing in the world and helping others is giving back, the volunteering. I mean,
Mhm.
it's huge. It's through frugality is just being aware of what you have, but it's like it multiplies, right?
Yeah, it sure does. And you looking back, if somebody had told me in 2015, 2014, when I went full time with this, I would have said it's never going to happen. I would have even known where I was going to be now, but now looking at it, I'm like, wow, I've really grown. And now people are like coming to me asking me for advice and things like that. And I'm like, oh, why are you asking me? I'm not the end all be all, the spokesperson for frugality, but people know me now on Instagram, like, you're Frugal Mom, or you're the one with the blog cabin. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, wait a second, you guys are stalking me? What's up with that? So so it makes a difference. And I mean, even the girls will even talk about, my mom does this. And they said it's hard because sometimes they know I don't like the word influencer because I
Mm.
feel like that's got such a negative connotation about it right now. And so they're like, oh, my mom just writes on her website. And that's what they do pretty much say because they really can't explain what I do for people to actually understand. Because even my mom, up till the day she died, she still didn't understand what I did. I mean, I would tell her, oh, well, I blog. What is a blog? I'm like, well, I write. Ew, that's gross. I'm like, well, maybe for you it is, but for me, it's something I enjoy doing. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's also important to know is that you have to find a job that you enjoy doing and you get life from, and it's not like you're working a 9 to 5 just to make a paycheck. And
Right.
I think that helps out too with the frugality. It was like, okay, I had a little bit of time to be able to find my place in the world, to reinvent myself. And we reinvent ourselves all the time. I mean, the
Yeah.
person that doesn't reinvent themselves is the one that's going to be stuck in the past.
Yes. And that's the thing that to be open to that, to be receptive, to sure there are some fears and trepidations through it,
Mhm.
right? But you just keep moving because as you do that, another door will open, other opportunities. We get validation, feedback. So, I mean, you transitioned from being a teacher. You said elementary school teacher, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to leaving that behind. I mean, someone might think, oh no, I had that education. I just have to stay with that. I can't move. But no, you knew for your own personal reasons why you needed to make a change and look at where you are and having an impact on helping people to live a better life. I mean, what can be more fulfilling than that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and I look back now and I realize that people had asked me, if you'd asked me back in 2014 if I would change anything that happened in my life, I would absolutely, I would name A, B, C, D. I would go through the whole alphabet and I would name all these things I would like to change. But in the last couple of years, I realized that I had to go through what I went through to be where I am right now. And that if I had changed anything, the outcome would not have been the same. So I learned to be more content in my life. And I think that's important that we don't always have to have the latest fashion or the newest cars or the newest trendy thing or anything like that. We can always find frugality. We can always have fashion. We can shop thrift stores or go to antique stores and do that and just have fun and just be with the family and just have a whole day that we're not spending tons of money and just go to the beach, whatever, picnic, whatever you want to do, but still be able to spend that time together and be happy. Because I think that's important. Because a lot of people in this world are so bogged down on their responsibilities of things they have to do because they have this much they have to pay for a car payment, this much they have to pay for the house. Oh, they have to get furniture. They have to, their kids have to be in the latest school equipments, all this other stuff. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can always be like, oh, you know what? We're going to pick 1 or 2 things this month that we're going to do as a family. That's going to be our splurges. But the rest of the time, we can still do things like picnic or go for a walk or run around with the dogs or go splash under a splash pad. Or there's a lot of free things in your community if you just are on the lookout for it that people need to find out about.
Yes, exactly. And really looking at those experiences as the gift rather than things and stuff, and going beyond, getting into debt because of it, and then those stressors just really chisel away at any kind of happiness we can have.
For sure. And also, too, I want to point out that when we decided, maybe when my girls started to get teenagers, that we were not going to go all out for Christmas and spend all this extravagant money to go into debt. We decided we were going to give experience and give it things that they could use. Like, for instance, whenever my daughter in California and her husband at Christmas, their birthdays, we send them a box of meat because we know that's something they can use. A box of meat, and it happens to be from a local farmer, because I love to support local farmers, and they ship all the way to California, so they know they're getting that. The farmer will send me 3 options. I'll send that option to Maddie, and I'll say, okay, which one do you want? And she'll tell me, and then the meat gets delivered to them. So it's things like that you can choose to still give presents and still be thoughtful, but in a way that they're going to be using something, that it's not going to be something, oh, okay, thanks, Mom. They're never going to use it again, or it's going to be rubbish, So that's also important to point out, is that even though you can still be frugal, still give thoughtful gifts, but you can give useful gifts. So you're not wasting your money on something people may not like.
Yes, exactly. And in those circumstances, they could perhaps afford to purchase that. But the fact that you've done that kind of lightens the load. They maybe will then use those extra dollars to splurge on something for themselves that they know they wanted to do and experience right where they live. So to know that you can be generous, but to do it in constructive and practical ways.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
And it also, it doesn't take anything away from you, because you're still giving them a present. Because I know a lot of parents are like, I want to give my children the world. But we get to a point where we give our children the world that once they get out in the world, they don't know how to function in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that movie Failure to Launch with Matthew McConaughey, where he goes and he's living in his parents' house and he doesn't want to move out. And you're like, why are you not moving out? Why are you not launching into the world? And so, yeah, as parents, you learn that your kids are like, you're scared when they leave, but then okay, I've done the best job that I can do, and they can function in the world. I mean, and kids nowadays have so much more on them because of social media, because of everything else. It's so hard,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I feel that what you've done is given your girls the world, because then they have the skills to really make it work and to find themselves and their paths. And as you shared, what they learned from both you and your husband, such invaluable lessons. Well, there's so much more that it would be fun to talk about, but that darn clock keeps ticking away.
I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Yes. So let's tell people how to follow you and get more information about Frugal Mom.
Okay, my blog is Adventures of Frugal Mom, but it's adventuresfrugalmom.com. That's the URL. You can, most of the time, I'm very active on Instagram. It's Frugal Mom on Instagram. And then I have a TikTok, which is Adventures of Frugal Mom. And just if you want to drop me an email or anything, or there's something you would like me to cover on the blog, just drop me an email at adventuresfrugalmom@gmail.com.
Well, that sounds wonderful. And you are wonderful, Melissa. I'm so grateful to have this connection with you. I really appreciate you. I think you're such a world of common sense, words of wisdom that we all need to learn and to abide by, fashioning it into our own world. So thank you for being who you are and taking time with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thanks for the opportunity to share more about being frugal and take that negative connotation out that frugal doesn't mean cheap.
Exactly. Thank you for being here this morning to meet these wonderful guests, following their passion, doing great work, and encouraging us in pursuing the same for ourselves. Please check the station's website for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels. If you'd like to connect with me, simply send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. and I trust you'll have an inspiring day.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.